Hello. Welcome back to another Transformational Thursday. I'm so excited to be here. So first I have a few little announcements and then we're going to jump straight into the Q&A. So first off, I want to mention that I don't know if you've heard or not, but Facebook has been doing an update where we may not be able to stream using the platform that I've been using to stream into the Facebook groups. If that is the case, I will keep you updated in the group. And I will also make sure that I let you know, no matter what, I will be going live in the Facebook group next Thursday because I ended up with so many questions that I was like, okay, this is going to have to be a two-parter because I don't want to jump into too many of the questions without giving you a little bit of foundation. So just to let you know, a lot of the questions that I got, which I popped them into my group coaching community, which, hey, ladies, thank you so much for answering me and for being a part of my community. Whenever I put it in there, like, hey, do you all have any questions where you're getting stuck that you would like talked about? Or if you could get an answer to anything in your business, what would it be right now? And it started this group chat where everyone was talking to each other and encouraging each other. Like it made me so proud that that's my community and those are my ladies. And I'm so thankful for it. But what it did bring up was the topic around our growth as professional organizers. And it's not like we're doctors, right? Where we go to school, we get a degree, and then they're like, okay, from the get go, this is what you're getting paid. You're going to have that pay every week. These are the hours you work, done. That's not what this is. So, a few of the questions that I got were how to know when you are actually consistent enough to not for your business to not be a side hustle anymore. Another question I got was, will I ever be consistent enough for it to not be a side hustle anymore? And then I also got, when we grow as a professional organizer, is it supposed to be this slow? I feel like it's so slow. Am I doing something wrong? And if you are starting an organizing business or you've even been doing this for a little bit, you know that feeling. And I know you know it because I know that feeling of, oh my gosh, like I've been doing everything I think I should be doing. I've been doing all the things. And then where are the clients? Why am I not getting more growth? Why am I not booked out every single week and know what I'm going to be doing next month in my organizing business? So, what I realized, because I grabbed my husband and I'm like, come here, I need to talk this out with you because I have got to figure out how to answer this question. And it hit me that I needed to go back and actually kind of share with you my journey as a professional organizer because I think a lot of us, we see other people, especially, people that have podcasts or people that have been doing this a little bit, and we're like, oh, well, they're there. We don't know how long it took them to get there. We don't know all the steps that it took. We don't know what they went through to get there. And if you know me, you know that there's two things I am extremely passionate about. And one is that I make sure to pair my life coaching with my faith with my organizing. And that I'm trying to teach my members and through my courses and all the things, teach others to do the same. Because for me, that's what's helped me stand apart. And it's also what's helped my clients the most are partnering those three things. So that's number one of what I care about the most. But number two is that I want to be transparent with you. Like I want you, because when I was getting started and even still to this day, when I watch other people that, are launching courses or that have memberships and they talk about like, almost like they go from basic, like, oh, well, here's how to know if you need this thing or if you want to do this thing to, oh, look at me now. And I'm doing 100K months every month. And it's like in the middle, what in the world? Can someone please just be open and vulnerable and honest with me? So I figure if I'm feeling that way, a lot of you are probably feeling that way as well. So that's why I want to share with you kind of my journey. And then next week, I want to answer a lot of the questions that I got in. Plus, it'll give everyone time that sees this to pop your questions in the comment So if you're watching this or if you're watching this later, make sure to pop your question in the comment section and I will definitely answer it next week also. But today I want to answer and talk about those growth, the consistency, all of those types of questions of, well, what if I only have a couple of clients booked right now on my calendar, but I'm a year into this? Like, what is going wrong? And what I want to tell you is nothing is going wrong. It is part of the journey of being a professional organizer. It will get there. It just takes time and it takes work and it takes consistency. And I know you wanted some hack or some like, Samantha, give me like 5 steps I can go do right now. And that's just not how it is. But there are a few things that you can do. And you will hear kind of what I've done over the past few years, because I don't know if you know anything about my story, but just for me to start, I decided to launch this business during COVID. My house was a disaster, and so I learned how to do this for myself. And then the weight that came off my shoulders, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can do this for other people. So that's where my journey started. So you got to think that's literally 4 years ago, almost this month, essentially. So in 4 years, I've gotten to where I am now. And the question is, how did I do it? So I had to go back and look and see, well, what did I do? And what were the things that happened along the way? So I want to start off by talking about 2020. So I spent all of 2020 during COVID and even after researching. I was researching the organizing field. I was researching, any podcasts I could get my hands on. I went down the research rabbit hole, which shout out to Jen, who's one of my members. She's a fellow research rabbit hole-y, I guess is what you would call it. So anyway, so I did my research. I bought courses. I did the things I needed to do to prepare myself for this business. I also worked on my website while I was still working full time. At this time, I was working and I was doing caregiving. I was taking care of this lady named Barbara, which she has passed away. But at the time, her house was so organized and it was so beautiful. And she helped inspire me to start this business and know that I could help others. And so while I had free time, even though I was still working full time, I started it as a side hustle. And so I launched the business with just my website. That's all I had at that time. And I had gotten my Facebook handle and maybe my Instagram. Not sure about the Instagram, but my Facebook business page and then my website. That's what I had. And then I had all the back end stuff like the paperwork and those types of things. And I launched January 1st, 2021. So I launch it on January 1st. And to me, I'm like, all right, come on, clients. Like, where are you at? I'm ready to work. Crickets, like complete crickets. So then, which now I know I totally launched wrong, but that's okay. You live and you learn. And so then I started working on my Google. And at the time, there was a platform called Home Advisor, which Angie's has now bought out Home Advisor, which makes me so sad because Home Advisor was amazing. But Home Advisor is essentially the same thing as Thumbtack or Angie's Lead or even TaskRabbit, which I just talked to a guy this week about that, which I'm going to be bringing up more in future episodes, depending on where you are in the country. I guess TaskRabbit is a really good one to be a professional organizer on. Just a little side tip. But anyways, and so I was with Home Advisor. The guy calls. He's like, okay, I'll give you $200 of free leads. And I got a couple of leads from that. My very first lead came from a lady that found me on Google. My second lead came from someone who found me through Home Advisor, which, mind you, I launched January 1st. The first lead came through in April. The second lead came through in May. And then July 4th, so I only worked with those two people. And then on July 4th, my husband had his motorcycle accident. He broke 28 bones. It was a whole thing. At the time, he was going to be like the handyman while I did the organizing, sessions together. So then I had to revamp my entire business strategy, everything that I was doing which is part of what I've learned to do, is that you have to be willing to go with the flow and pivot when needed, but you also have to be committed, right? So during that time, I'm still working full time. And then I essentially had to relaunch by myself as a professional organizer in like September around there of 2021. So to me, that's when I officially launched, was September 2021. So I launched then. I did actually have a speaking engagement with a local ladies group where they meet for lunch. It's a Christian, Knoxville Women's Christian Association. So I went and gave a speech, and during that whole time, my voice was quivering like this, and I had no clue what I was talking about, but I did it anyways. So when you're afraid, it's okay. Just work through it. Action through fear is how you're going to get through. But so that was September 2021. I think I may have gotten like, I don't know, 3 or 4 more leads, leads that panned out. There were more leads than that, because there always are, right? It's probably about, I don't know, like 60 to 70% of the people that either fill out even still to this day, that fill out my website form, or that, especially if they come as a lead through like an Angie's List or a Thumbtack, it's probably more like 50% of the leads that you actually get through that are going to pan into actual clients. But and I just wanted to throw that out there, because I want this Transformational Thursday to be one that you walk away knowing that you're doing a good job, and knowing that the percentages and the numbers, and like, oh, I don't get every single lead that I get doesn't turn into a client. Well, that's okay. They may not be ready yet. They may come back around here in a year or something. It's okay. You're doing great. So anyways, so then that was end of 2021. We go into 2022. During that, I've officially quit my full-time job as a caregiver, but I have started cleaning homes because I needed consistent income. And if you have any opportunity, even if it's to maybe like drive for Grubhub, or if it's to, drive for Uber a couple days a week, something to take the pressure off of the fact that you have to have so many organizing clients per week to pay the bills. Okay. You need something. And for me, that was cleaning. So I didn't have a ton of cleaning clients, but I had enough that it took the pressure off, to where even if it was a week that I only had like 1 or 2 organizing clients, it was okay, because at that point I was still technically like 4 months in. But I was also willing. I was on Angie's List. I was on Thumbtack. I was, going and promoting myself with my business cards, like anywhere I could think of. I even went and got those door hanger things that are like the clear door hangers. And I put candy in them with my like business card and made them look really pretty, and went and hung them on doors. I was a crazy person about planting seeds for my business. So I wanted to make sure to mention that you've got to think of ways to plant the seeds for your business in person, whether it's your business cards or whatever. And then you've also got to make sure your online foundational pieces are in place, like your website and those types of things. And if you haven't done your website yet, then you've at least got to make sure that like your Google's in place and your social media. There's, especially now, like even just a few years ago, it wasn't as prevalent, but now people are going to look you up. And then they're going to be like, oh, well, if she doesn't even have a website, or she doesn't have this or that, they're going to feel like you're not farther along in your business. And so, as maybe, someone else that's right down the street. And so it's so vitally important to get those foundational pieces in place, to make sure that as your business starts to grow, that it's growing on a firm foundation, and that you don't have to worry about those things later on. Now, if you haven't built your foundational pieces, some of us, like me, I even there for a little bit did it under the table, just being honest. And even though I had my website and that kind of stuff, I didn't know anything about like the LLC or the EIN or like my business bank account. And it was a hot mess that I hodgepodge together. And that's why I'm so adamant about you all doing it and getting it right, and me being able to help you do that, is because I felt like a floundering fish a lot of the times, just trying to figure out like, what do I do? Oh my gosh, I know I'm meant to do this. I know this is something I'm good at. I know I can help people do that, help them in their lives. but how do I get it done on the business side and the marketing piece, right? So, all right. So we are, 2021 launched. 2022, we're in it. I'm cleaning. So I'm doing, I think about 2 days a week cleaning, and then normally about 2 days a week organizing is kind of how it ended up panning out. So at that point, I'm like, I don't know, maybe this is like summer of 2022. And at that point, I've technically been launched for about a year and a half, but after my husband's wreck and all that, legitimately launched for a little under a year. So that's when I started to really see the momentum pick up. And I started, because then I was at a place where I knew what to say to clients. I knew how to actually get the clients. I knew what to say during the consultation, during the session to book the next session, which I definitely want to get into next week. Because one of my members was like, how do I make sure to have another session on the books before I leave that day? And a lot of times it really is as simple as being like, okay, so we're winding up today's session. I'm getting ready to be heading out. You've got all your stuff done. That's like the physical stuff. And then you say, all right, I wanted to go ahead and make sure, because sometimes I get booked out a few weeks. So I want to make sure to get you on my calendar for our next session. And so you don't lose the momentum, because I really want to get this job done for you. I love what we're doing here. It's literally as simple sometimes as asking and just kind of stating it that way. Okay. And then if they say, oh, well, I don't really want to right now, but, message me next week. Well, then pop it in your calendar to message them the next week. My sessions are 3 hours, but I recommend that you start with 4 if you're just getting started. It's a good amount of time to get a substantial enough done, but it's not so much that you overwhelm the client or yourself, especially when you're working alone. So, okay, so I was still cleaning. So, having that other job or some sort of income was really nice as a cushion. And then at any point in time, I was never more than 10 days booked out. And this lasted up until even just maybe a few months ago. Like, I tell clients, like, I normally say about 2 weeks booked out, but there's times that I have nothing on the calendar the following week. Like, I may have 1 or 2 this week, but I don't have anything the next week. And I bring that up because I want you all to know that it is normal as a professional organizer for quite a few reasons. But one is that we're helping our clients and we're getting the job actually done. It's not like cleaning or anything where we have to continually come back. Number 2 is some of our clients, they may actually learn the skill. I have a lot of clients that when I go work with them, they're like, okay, great. You got it in order. I can maintain it. And they thank me, they pay me. I don't hear from them again at all. The job's done. But then you also have others that I've been talking to a few of the women in the group about how maintenance sessions really are a fantastic thing. But I think that a lot of times if we could offer kind of a maintenance session as more of like a getting it back in order, like I've already come and done the actual session, we've decluttered, we've organized. But then if you are a busy, if our clients, if they are busy adults with a lot of kids, or they just have busy lives that they can't maintain it on their own, we can offer to come back to do a maintenance session, literally like, bi-monthly, for maybe it's a 3-hour session for a little bit cheaper, but then it's consistent work that we know we're going to have. Like right now, I have a lady that's a judge and she's so busy. Her mom has dementia. There's all these things going on that whenever I offered it to her and I was like, listen, I can come back any area that we've previously done as long as it's not longer than 3 months. Because after 3 months, I can't promise you that I can get this area back in order in 3 hours. But where I normally charge $297 for a 3-hour session, or like for you, if you charge $297 for a 4-hour session, you could be like, hey, my maintenance sessions are $247 for a 3-hour session, but I get it back in order, or something to where they hear a lower price. You're still technically getting paid about the same, but you're only coming for a 3-hour session because you're just getting it back in order. And at that point, you already know the client. So it's a lot easier and faster to get it back to where then you are able to keep it maintained for them. Which brings me to my next point. So for me, word of mouth with my clients is everything to me. The two things that are everything, well, three, because God's number one, period. Number two, though, is Google. For me, Google has been everything. But number three, and actually kind of number one, is going above and beyond for the client that's in front of me. A lot of us are so worried about, what do I post? What do I do? How do I do this? What are the tacticals? Which I get, because I'm the exact same way. But sometimes we have to pause our brain and be like, all right, God, help me to help my client today. Like when I go to sessions on my way there, my prayer every time is, God, help me to be your hands and feet. Help me to be your mouthpiece. Whatever this client specifically needs, let me help them and bless them to where they get what they need. And when our heart posture is that way and we are going in to help the client that is right in front of us, we aren't thinking about our own stuff. We aren't thinking about anything else but how we can help that client and be a blessing to them. That starts to trickle. People start to talk. When you go above and beyond for the client that's right in front of you, yes, it may take a little bit of time, but now the clients that I get are literally the sister of a client I worked with a year ago, the cousin of a client I worked with a year and a half ago, the neighbor of a client I worked with 6 months. Like, that's when the word of mouth starts to spread. And that's when they also go on and give you killer reviews on Google or wherever you send them the link to. So when other people are looking for an organizer and they read that review, like the trickle effect of going above and beyond for our clients and being a blessing to them is everything. So 2022, that was one of the things I learned, was how to go above and beyond and make sure that my heart posture is correct every single time I go into a client's home. And I got it very intentional about the wording that I was using with my clients in 2022. When we have to be very careful, because for us, especially when we're first starting out or even in the first year and a half, we think, oh, well, they may not think I know what I'm doing, or they, like all the fears that we have inside of us, they're not thinking any of those things. They are thinking she's the professional. What she says goes. It'd be like a plumber coming in your house and being like, hey, I think you should do A, B, and C. And you've got a flood coming out of your toilet. You'd be like, okay, let's do A, B, and C because I need this fixed. Right. And we know nothing about plumbing. So we have to be very aware of the wording that we're saying as we're working with our clients. And again, before we leave our sessions, to make sure to be like, hey, let's go ahead and get the next session on the books so we don't lose this momentum. It's that kind of wording that they're like, oh, okay, you're the professional. You say we need to get the next session on the books, especially if their goal is that they want to get the whole house done or they have multiple rooms they want to get done. Now, I'm not saying force them to book another session if the job is done. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is if there's still things that need to get done, it's okay to tell them, hey, let's go ahead and get you on the calendar for the next session. Or like the lady I was working with yesterday, I flat out told her, I said, listen, April, May, and June are my busiest months, and I get booked out quite a few weeks. She's like, okay, great. She pulled out her calendar. She booked, I think, 6 sessions over the next month with me. She goes, I want to be on your calendar. So when we say these things, we have to be very aware of the wording that's coming out of our mouth. And you learn that as you go. And that's my point, is I learned this in 2022. I wrote all this stuff down. I wanted to share my timeline with you. I did the research in 2020. I launched January 1st of 2021. It wasn't until towards the end of 2022 that I started being aware of the power of what I was saying and how I was saying it and my heart posture with that wording. So the other thing, so we go above and beyond for our clients. And then here's the other thing I learned in 2022, and then I'll get to last year. So when I don't have sessions which especially in 2022 was pretty often. I am the only person that brings in an income in our household. My husband, with the motorcycle accident he had, it was a whole thing. He brings in $0. I have teenagers. I have dogs. So if I don't make the money, our bills don't get paid. And so for me, trusting God to pay my bills is a very, very legit thing. It is something that I have to know that I know that I know that God's going to help me provide for my family. He's not going to let me go hungry, and He's going to bring me the next person that needs my help. And so my prayer, whenever I don't have a lot of sessions on the books, is, God, please bring me the next person that I'm meant to help. It's not bring me the next person that's going to pay my bills, because God already knows I need that. It's, God, bring me the next person that I am meant to help and that I'm meant to work with. And it never fails. When I pray that prayer and I am coming from the right place in my heart, I end up with people who fill out the website form, or literally within a day or two, I end up with the next clients. And that's where our faith and being in business, especially a business like this, is so valuable. So yeah, absolutely. I was reading the things, but yes, our heart posture, it's huge. And as I was getting ready for this Transformational Thursday, which I know it's going long, but I don't even care, because God told me to tell you all, and so I am. But God brought up the scripture for me, the one that says that He will give us the desires of our heart. And I was like, I need to look that up, because I know there's something else with it, right? It actually says, delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. It's not just He will give you the desires of your heart today or tomorrow. It's delight yourself in Him, and then He will give you the desires of your heart. And it is a process. It's just like our business. It's a process, but it's so worth it. All right, so let me get into 2023. So first off, in 2023, January 1st, I launched the group coaching community. And then in April, we moved. So just keep that in mind in my 2023. So I got all that done, and that last year came in phases. There were like a few months where there'd be like nothing. It was crickets. And then there'd be a few months where like I couldn't even see straight, and I was doing like 6 days a week, or maybe 7 kind of thing, just because I had to put those sessions somewhere. So that's also a very common thing as a professional organizer. It's not like, oh, so I work Monday through Wednesday, I do 1 session per day, like it's not a super structured thing like that. And that's okay. Like, that's the enjoyment of this. It's fun. Yeah, there's going to be times that you're tired from working so much. And then there's going to be other times which it has never failed me, the times that either someone has canceled, or I've not had a lot of stuff on my calendar. Something has come up with my family, something's come up with my animals, or I just needed a break. Like, it's okay to relax and to take time for ourselves. We have to, in this industry that we're in, to be able to help the next person that is meant for us to help. Because if we are out of whack, how are we going to help them? Like, we're not, right? So that was something I definitely learned last year in 2023. And then I also wanted to make sure to mention that booked out for me, even still to this day, is about 4 sessions a week. I'm not looking to be booked out 7 days a week and, 2 sessions a day. And so and I'm bringing this up because for you, I need you to look at your numbers. You need to look at how much do I actually need to survive? And then how much do I need to enjoy living life, right? Like, because those are 2 different numbers of how much do I need to feed my kids, and then how much do I need to maybe, take a vacation with the family at some point, or to at least get my nails done or whatever. And then you need to figure out how many sessions, based on what I'm charging right now, would I actually need to do per week for those numbers to exist. Because a lot of times we think that we need like 25 new clients every single month, and that's the only way we're going to pay our bills. And we're always in this like desperate, like, I need more clients, I need more clients, kind of lack mentality, when really we don't need that many. That's like the lady yesterday. I'm working with her. She books 6 sessions over the next month or so. There was a guy that I worked with this week that literally, I did 4 days in a row with him. And at the end of the 4 days yesterday, he tipped me $450 in a tip. I've never once gotten even a dollar tip from anyone. Like, everyone always just pays me. Actually, that's a lie. A few months ago, I got like a $50 tip, I think. But, people are willing to do like, testimonials, and they're willing to tell their friends, and they're willing to do all these things. It's just what we do already costs quite a bit. So for him, after 4 days of work, for him to tip me $450 because the work I did, he was so thankful for, reinforced for me that much more, A, how God can bless us through our clients, and B, how whenever we need something, whatever we need, because right now I need a new set of tires and that's about $1,000. And I was like, where is the money going to come from? And then I get this client, work with him those 4 days, plus he tips me. Right. So all of a sudden I have the money and I'm like, oh, okay, I can get a set of tires. Yes. And I mentioned that because trusting God for what we need when we need it is huge. And then also remembering, as much as we're helping our clients, they can also be a blessing to us, which is something else that I've learned. So, last few little things. Yeah, as a professional organizer, it comes in phases. You got to figure out your numbers of what booked out actually means to you. And then above all, like, you've got to make sure to remember, we're not doctors, just like I started this with. We are not doctors. We're not going to need to or have to work 80-hour weeks to make our paycheck. We are not salary. We make quite a bit per hour or per session, which is fantastic, but it's because it's very hard work physically and mentally. But if you don't know your numbers, you are always going to stay in this lack mentality, feeling like the growth isn't there, feeling like, I need more clients and more clients and more clients. Well, what if all of those clients did call you tomorrow? Would you even have the capacity to deal with them? And so I'm going to leave you with this, is that, remember, the very next step, God is always there and willing to provide it for you. He's ready to give it to you and provide it to you. We have to ask. We have to seek after that. We have to delight ourselves in the Lord so he can give us the desires of our heart. And when we do those things and we trust him and we partner with him in this business specifically, a lot of the fears go away. And all of a sudden we're like, you know what, God, you're right. And then we learn these things over time. But I'm here to remind you that it has taken me 4 years to get to the point that I'm at right now, which is that I'm finally past just booking next week's sessions. Like, the past year and a half or so, I literally was thankful if I was booking the following week. And that was 2 to 3 years into the business. But to me, that was growth. I had sessions on the book. I had clients I was working with. I had very happy clients. So it's how we measure things. You have to look at your mindset. You have to look at how you are measuring what growth looks like or what succeeding looks like. This is an industry that will help you learn those things, which is a valuable lesson to learn in life. Like, it truly, truly is. And so I thank you all so much for showing up. If any of you guys have any questions whatsoever, I promise next week will be like rapid fire answer any of the questions that I get. I just wanted to make sure to lay these foundational pieces so you all could understand where I'm coming from when I do give you the answers to the questions and the tacticals, right? But I'll also to remind you that, like, you're doing good. You're growing. Like, even if growing right now is just getting your website ready, even if growing right now is just going and helping some little old lady cross the street, or like for me, which is another point, thank you, God, that I wanted to bring up. When I don't ever give money to a homeless person, or pick someone up to like give them a ride or anything, unless I pass them and the Holy Spirit says, Samantha, go help them. And then I only do it if it's female for the ride part, just FYI. But anytime I've ever helped someone like that because the Holy Spirit told me to, or I've given money to a homeless person, or I've gone above my tithe, every single time I'm like, all right, God, please let this seed bless my business. Let this seed help my business grow. Let me helping them help my business grow and help me be able to feed my family. And I know that I know that I know that because I was very intentional about not, about those seeds that I plant, the financial ones, the ones when I help people and go above and beyond out of my way, the times that I have gotten screwed over and someone should have paid me and they didn't. And I was like, all right, God, you know what? The money they should have paid me, take that and let that be a blessing and plant that as a seed towards my business growing. When you look at it that way, I've gotten to the point now where I'm honestly thankful when someone screws me over. I really am, because I have seen the correlation between someone screwing me over and my business growing and me getting like a crazy awesome, client or crazy awesome check or like whatever happened, or a home that I needed at the time, or a vehicle that I needed, like, or whatever it is, like whatever you're praying for, you've got to plant a seed. So there's some action with the prayer, because faith without works is dead, right? Like we can have the faith, we can have the prayer, but we've got to give it some action so it can start to grow and gain momentum. And it's the same with our business. So I'm going to leave you on that note, and I'm going to hope that you pop your questions in the chat and that you join us next Thursday for the 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Transformational Thursday. Again, Facebook is acting all wonky, so we'll know on the 22nd if I'm actually going to be able to keep using StreamYard. If not, then I'll just go live in the actual Facebook group, or I'll leave a note, some kind of post in the group. But I thank you all so much for showing up, for being here, for watching this. And honestly, I was reading the comments and it says, thanks. That makes me feel better about not being booked out so far. And also reminds me that I have to learn to be more comfortable with this uncertainty. Absolutely. And unfortunately, like, it's not like it gets better, right? The uncertainty of this business. But what gets better is our faith, and in knowing that like we're good. It's okay, because the next person's right around the corner. They're coming. We just have to know they're coming, and we have to keep doing what we're supposed to be doing in the meantime and delighting ourselves in the Lord so he can give us the desires of our heart. And then that way we aren't coming from this place of striving. We're coming from this place of peace and knowing that it's coming because God will provide for us. I love you all. I thank you so much for being a part of my family and my POC sisterhood. And I hope that this has blessed you. And I will see you all next Thursday. Have a good evening.